Hey, Disney cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community, where we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruises. You guys know me. I'm Rebecca, your host and admin of the DCL community. And today we are talking about my favorite time to sail, and we will get into it and to why I feel the way that I feel about these cruises in general. But as you're coming in, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. And Crissi, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Crissi O'Kane, one of your recommended agents with DCL Community. I love being a part of this group, and I love cruising any time of the year. But right now, we are getting so many questions about spring break. Should I do it? What do I need to know? What's different about it? So we made this presentation all for you, all for that.
Yes. I am so excited to get into it. And if you are ready to plan your cruise, whether it's with Disney or another cruise line, spring break, or another time of year, reach out to Crissi. You might not know this, but her planning services are actually free for you to utilize. So talk through the pros and the cons, when your spring break is, what your kids are interested in, what you're interested in, and she can help make a recommendation just for you. And that is a link to her page on the DCL community site. So we'll keep that up for everybody and get that in the comments as well. But let's go ahead and dive into spring break cruises and what the big deal is about them.
Yeah. All right. So it is a big deal. We see a lot of people commenting like, this is the only time we can travel. Should we still do it? Totally. But there's just some stuff that you should know. It is actually now the most popular time of year for family travel. It just this year beat out summer. And I think a lot of that is weather. People don't necessarily want to do the Caribbean at like peak temperatures, and peak temperatures this year compared to 3 to 4 years ago are higher. So spring break is becoming more and more attractive. But there's the other thing that's kind of changed is that the time period for spring break has also changed. It used to be really fixed that it was like that week before and the week right after Easter. And now you see schools doing all kinds of things. So, I have clients traveling for spring break like over Valentine's this year. I was like,
Wow.
that's still technically winter, guys.
Yeah.
But it's just when their school decided this was the right time of year, we're going to kind of do it the week before President's Day. It's a longer extended break, and it just worked out well. So I get it. A lot of schools are really trying to take some different weeks as their spring break to better fit the academic distinctive services that they can provide. So if you have one of those off-peak spring breaks for your school, take it. But also know that there are some distinct advantages actually to doing a Disney Cruise Line vacation over spring break as opposed to a different cruise line or a different type of vacation. But there's still some things to consider. So why is it really popular? Because families have that time off from school and they want to do something. But should you still go? Absolutely.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was going to say, anytime it's cruise related, I'm like, go, go, go.
Yeah, go. So why DCL? So DCL has a really distinct advantage. And a lot of people might not necessarily know this about the cruise industry and not Disney Cruise Line specifically, but DCL typically sails at near capacity all year round. So regardless of spring break, the ships are almost to capacity. And that sounds scary. But like, no, they're designed and they're built that way. So, they are totally capacity controlled. They can't take more than can fit in the staterooms. There's all kinds of maritime laws about how many people can be on there and the lifeboats and all of that. So you do have a nice kind of like built-in crowd control on your cruise, and you will not have this on beach hotels. They will be filled to the brim.
Great
Theme
point.
parks and national parks, which I actually didn't know this, but I was just at Arches National Park last week, and it's a little bit hard to tell in the picture because I'm actually like already in the park on the road. But this is the line of cars trying to get in the morning, and I was totally unaware that it was like spring break in Utah, because it was not spring break where I live. It was absolutely crazy town over at Arches, and they actually have a reservation system, but it doesn't start till next week in April. So I don't know if they were having to like turn people away at the door, or like I really don't, or no, it's not a door, it's like a gate. But anyway, but all of kind of like beaches, public beaches, national parks, and also us in the travel world know this is like one of the most crowded weeks for Disney World as well. Those have a very different feeling over spring break compared to the middle of January. Whereas Disney Cruise Line, pretty much same amount of passengers every week. Doesn't really change. What will change is kind of like the passenger makeup. So there's definitely going to be more school-age children on board. And the reason for that is that these sailings are very popular because a lot of families, this is their 1 week that the kids are out of school. This is, where we have to take this week off of work anyway to care for them. So we're going to go on vacation this week. A lot of teacher families, this is like, hey, I'm not really allowed to take vacation any other time, so I got to go. Since they're really popular, because of Disney's dynamic pricing model, they become more expensive. So that kind of has a double-edged sword. Because in addition to making it like, well, this is the only time that school-age family, or families with school-age children can travel, it also makes these sailings unattractive to families that have more flexibility. So families with toddlers that are, not in the public school schedule yet, or adults-only families, they're generally going to choose a different week just because the same itinerary is a little bit less expensive if we did, the very beginning of March instead of mid-March, or the very end of April instead of mid-April. So you will see a lot more school-age children on board, but you're not going to see a significant amount of more passengers in general. So I think that's a really big win for Disney Cruise Line, and something that a lot of people don't consider.
Yes, that is such a good point. Having that kind of balance between there are definitely pros. There are some things to consider too. But I know one of the reasons that my family loved sailing this time of year was back in my day when there were just, 2 spring break weeks, it was like the private schools and the public schools, and we alternated. And we always sailed with the same people. It was the same families we're on, and you got to become so close. And I think if you have especially larger friend groups that you like traveling with, reach out to Crissi, because she can help coordinate between, you guys can all dine together. You can do excursions together. Maybe you do like a private excursion with just you guys instead of a bunch of people from the ship. Because Crissi's done some private excursions that are awesome at Disney's ports. So it's just fun to kind of take those relationships that you have and make them even better on board. Because when you're on the ship, the kids aren't just on their phones the whole time with Wi-Fi and streaming and everything. They're really making memories together, and these memories that last. So this is one of my favorite times. And yes, it can be more expensive. Do you have any tips for maybe not making it as expensive?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are already aware of your public school schedule or private school schedule, book as soon as possible, right? So kind of the reason it's more expensive is because it's more fully booked than other sailings around, that same time period. So as the availability decreases, we see the price increase. So if you can book before that happens, right? We see at itinerary launch, almost all dates are roughly the same in price point. There's going to be a few outliers, like the sailings that are marketed, directly over Christmas, those type of things. But for the most part, at launch date, all of March and April are about the same price point. And then as they get booked, prices start to fluctuate really dramatically. So book early. Look into those discount Disney gift cards, Sam's Club, Target, like that can really offset the cost, especially when you're looking at a family of 4, family of 5. That's going to go really, really far. And then really look and plan, and I will get into this on the next couple of slides, but plan early for all of your costs in addition to the cruise itself. So flights, book early, hotels, book early, all of that things, mostly for availability, but also for price savings as well.
Oh, such a good point, and great ways to save, booking as early as possible.
Yeah, so here's some considerations about spring break cruising that are specific to Disney Cruise Line. So as I mentioned, that these sailings typically have more school-age children on board than other sailings. The great thing about Oceaneers Club and Oceaneers Lab is that these don't require a reservation. You can just drop your kiddos off. It may be a little bit more crowded, but do not worry. Disney knows that in advance. They know the ages of all the children on board. They will have appropriate cast members on board to make sure that all of the activities in there are seamless. But if you are looking for other activities that do require a reservation that are popular with that age group, like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, the Portobello, the dolphin swims, those are going to book up so fast because generally that minimum age is 6 or 8, and like those kiddos have been waiting to do that, 3 or 4 cruises now, and now is their chance, and we're going to do it. And then kind of like what I call like entry-level thrill activities. I couldn't really come up with like, what do you call this? But like family rafting or low-key zip lining. These are all really attractive activities for families with those kiddos like 6 to 10 years old. So they're going to book really fast. So make sure to stay on top of your booking dates and have your agent be aware of what you're looking for in advance. And this also applies to things that don't require reservation, like pool time. Okay, be prepared. The pool is going to be busy on spring break. It's busy all the time. But for spring break, kiddos that are 6 to 10, they like love that pool. They live for that pool. So just kind of be prepared for that. Also, character meets and those pool deck parties, right? Pirate night, sail away, they're all going to be really, really popular. So it's important to go into that with some flexibility. If your family can do second dining, oh my goodness, you will have such an easier time if the pool is important to you. Second
Yes,
dining is
good
for the
point.
win there. But really, it's important to kind of think about what's important to you, right? Top suggestion. First, I didn't put this in my words, but identify what's important to you. If this is your first cruise, really talk with an agent about everything that you can expect and be honest. Like I might say, oh, you can expect high quality dining. And you can say, we're not foodies. We don't care. Amazing. Have room service every night. And now you won't be around crowds. It'll be great.
Yeah, such
Um,
a good
right?
point.
Like talk about what's important and prioritize that, right? Learn everything that's included and really prioritize what's important to you and your family. It might not be the same thing that's important to me. Everybody that cruises with me knows I am at all of the shows. You might not care. So, really identify what's important to you and be at that. If something is important to you on shore, book it privately. Um, Everybody that has watched my presentations before knows that if there's one thing I could change about Disney Cruise Line, well, first it's the soda. I'd like it to just be free everywhere. I
Oh,
don't love it. It's not free in the lounges. But
yeah.
the for real change I would make is to get rid of the whole activity booking dates and make it like every other cruise line and be able to just book your cruise and then book your shore excursions. But
Mhm.
that is not how Disney operates, and that is what it is. But if
Yes.
you wait, so say you're a first time sailor at 75 days, or even a silver sailor at 90 days, if you wait until 90 days prior to travel to book your activities and it's sold out through Disney Cruise Line, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to find you an alternate provider during spring break because they are already booked. They're already taking reservations for spring break 2026 and beyond at this point. Um,
Yeah.
so you really, really reach out to a travel professional about what's important to you. If you are going to a crowded, port like Nassau or Cozumel, these ports can hold 8 and sometimes 9 ships, right? They're going to have tons and tons of people. Some of the really big ships on Royal Caribbean will be there. MSC is going to have a ship the same size, so we can't even say it's just Royal Caribbean anymore. There's going to be so many people at some of these ports that are really, really popular and that have things that Disney Cruise Line takes you to, but they're technically available to anybody, right? And so if you want to do the Dolphin Swim at Blue Lagoon, other cruise ships are going. Disney's got a limited amount of spots, right? We need to look at things that we can book outside of Disney Cruise Line if it's super important to you. And then if your booking date opens and it's available through Disney Cruise Line and it's not that much more expensive and you really want the convenience of them escorting you there and back, sure, let's cancel your private booking, no problem. Um,
Mhm.
the other thing that we could look at is actual private tour or private excursion, which Rebecca mentioned earlier. She knows I'm a really, really big fan of, especially during spring break. Most of the time, in order to break even on a private tour, which like I get off at St. Thomas, I have my own driver. I have, I could drive the Jeep if I wanted, but I don't. He drives us and my family all around, takes us to the best destinations. We have an amazing lunch. We got to snorkel in a totally secluded beach, like just us. It's absolutely amazing. And when split between 4 people, like just 2 couples, it was way cheaper than booking any of the like beach break through the cruise line where we would be on a bus with 100 cruisers. So
Yeah.
look at private excursions. Generally, to break even, you need at least 3 people. That is like most families, like you're set here. So you could do your own version of some of these really popular excursions with just your crew, but you need to book that in advance. You can't wait until you're 75 or 90 days out. That's like literally only Disney Cruise Line does that. It's like absolutely bonkers in the cruise industry. So um, it's
Gotta love Disney for throwing a wrench in
totally
there,
different,
right?
right? Totally different. So if something's important to you, reach out to your travel professional and make sure that I know it's important to you, and we can get it booked through a third party provider that's totally reputable, back to ship guarantee, all the things. And then we can change our plans if it's still available through Disney. Great, but let's make sure that we get that covered. And then for on the ship activities, something's important to you, really kind of include some flexibility, right? So like if the shows are important to you, get there early, like earlier than early, like 45 minutes instead of 30. Really like, get that prime seat because you know that it's going to be important to other people on the ship too. And then my favorite tip to think about is that sometimes while there aren't technically more people on board than most sailings, it can just feel that way. School age children, they're just kind of a lot, right? They're a lot of energy. They're not quite the same as sailing with a ton of adults only families or a ton of little infant families. that are having nap time, that are having relaxed time, that are, in mom's lap. It's just a little bit of a different vibe. So if the onboard areas start to feel too busy, nothing beats room service Mickey bars for some downtime. Remember that you've got your private space, doesn't matter what room type, even an interior room with some ice cream and a Disney movie on the TV. And now you're having your own private moment. So you can make those private moments anytime you want with your room and room service. It's fantastic.
That's such a good point. I think so often people forget that you're allowed to relax on your vacation
Yeah,
and you don't need to go, 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 go. If you want to,
totally.
that's great. But I know that there is somebody watching right now that's like, I don't want to book not through Disney. They don't
Mhm,
guarantee that I'm going to get back. I know you touched on it briefly, but
mhm.
to that person right now who's like, I'm on my own, what would you say to kind of help
So
calm
I
some of
would
those
say
worries?
it's understandable, and it's not for everybody, but there are distinct advantages. And it's also not like you're just getting off the ship, trusting Joe Schmo. You're going to have a booking confirmation. You're going to have a direct point of contact. You'll know exactly who you're looking for and where they're picking you up. And there are many store excursion companies that have a back to ship guarantee. And that entails either a full refund of your excursion if the excursion just can't happen because they can't get you back to ship, something like there's weather, so the whole excursion's canceled before you even start. It's just refunded, no problem. Or something like relocation to the next port, things like that. So really, like it's definitely a different world than it used to be. You're not having to like you can book totally in English and the US dollars, like online ahead of time. No need to call Jamaica. It's really easy. And there's so many reputable companies. You've got tons of options, but you do need to have some social and geographical awareness, right? You do need to be of the mind where you know where you are. I generally already have like maps and directions printed of where I'm going, so that I can like follow along with my driver the first few turns, make sure that yeah, okay, all right, I know where we're going. This is going to be good. And then after that, you can just lay back and relax because you've got your own private guide, and their whole job relies on getting you back to that ship safely. If that doesn't work out for them, their whole business is hosed. So they've actually got even bigger consequences than you do.
So true. And this is a good question. Sitting with my 2-year-old, there's no excursions that they can
Mm,
do. Do
yeah.
private excursions allow babies?
So most of the time, yes. Sometimes they're like some companies can't provide car seats, so that is something that you have to be like willing to be flexible on. Like if they provide a open air van that's car seats aren't required, you got to be willing to go with that or bring your own car seat. But most of the time, they will. It's just something you need to kind of make sure that we're negotiating in advance, mostly for that transportation. And then wherever they take you will need to have no minimum age requirements. So like, for instance, in St. Thomas, like the beaches are all fine, the tours are all fine, the shops are all fine, the lunch, like everything, everywhere we went is totally okay. But the reason that 2-year-olds weren't accommodated on the tours through the cruise line is purely for transportation. They don't have, they use just a regular van. They're not providing car seats. So you just have to make
Okay.
sure that you're working with a company that will either allow you to bring your own car seat or will provide transportation that either includes a car seat or doesn't require one.
Yes. And shameless plug for Chrissy as a travel agent. That's actually something that she can help you with. So she
Absolutely.
can help pull excursions. If your family really wants to go deep sea fishing and the one through Disney is booked, she can find a company that you can do it on your own and still have an amazing time. So just a little shameless plug
Mhm.
there.
Some other considerations is to book everything outside of your cruise way earlier than you normally would. So I typically say for like domestic cruises, like, I live in Virginia, and when I cruise out of Florida, I try to book my flight like 3 to 6 months in advance. I'm booking that flight 6 months, 9 months way in advance. I'm stocking prices. Like as soon as I book my cruise, I'm starting to stock prices for flights and just snag one early. And it might even be a whole year in advance, which is so unlike me. But I know that for March and April, flights are crazy. I'm
Yeah.
also going to book the earliest flight in the day always because I know the airport's going to be crowded. Virginia, March is still questionable weather-wise. We could still have a winter weather event in March, which is obnoxious,
Yeah.
um, but the truth. So really adding in a lot of like extra time. So with my hotel, I'm booking early. Even my vacation shopping, I am doing that early. As soon as there's something in stock,
Ooh.
and online shopping as well, things are going to run out. It's really interesting. You'll see things like the plugs you put in the wall that are like the little like multi USB ports and stuff.
Yes.
Amazon will start to run out of those things. You'll start to have like funky off brands, or instead of 2 day shipping, you're now like 4 day shipping. Gross. Like who wants that, right? Um, so start to kind of think about things that you need for your trip well in advance and like be ready to go. Don't be thinking about that like last 2 weeks before travel when literally everybody is on vacation. Target won't have any flip-flops left. So
Man,
really
that is
think about that
such a
ahead of
good
time.
point. Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and then really also look at the local area where you are sailing out of. Is it spring break there too? Or if it's not spring break for me, like early March, it wasn't spring break, but apparently it was in the middle of Moab. I never would have thought that the park would be crowded, but it was. So that's why we got to Arches at like 7 a.m. Like it was freaking barely sunrise, but we were in the park.
Yeah.
So allow extra travel time. Um, and then really consider convenience. You might have to consider convenience over price point. This is a conversation I have with all of my clients because hotels are going to be more expensive. This is peak season for all types of travel, not just cruising. There are all kinds of different sports events happening. Travel sports are really popular during the spring break season as well. But being at the perfect hotel for you and your family may be worth that additional cost if it's got all the convenience. So shameless plug, a lot of people have heard me mention before that when I sail out of Port Canaveral, I almost always stay at one of Universal Orlando's properties. And the reason for that is convenience. So this is Hard Rock. It's one of my favorites. I also like Aventura and Sapphire Falls a lot. But they do have a shuttle to Port Canaveral through Universal, so you don't have to deal with the Disney bus and like all the bajillion people. Or you can take Lyft, and it's a little bit closer than if you were staying in the Disney area. So you're already kind of saving a little bit of money on your Uber, Lyft. But the other really big thing about Universal compared to Disney is that you can walk everywhere. So I have everything I really need at my hotel. It's luxurious. I've got a great pool. I've got a great restaurant. But if I want more restaurants, I can walk to City Walk. It's right there. If I did get in early and wanted a theme park day, I can walk there. If I wanted even just a little like their City Walk has like a Burger King and a Panda Express. Like, so if I just want something that's not so formal, I can walk there. You can walk to the movie theater. So having that convenience of truly everything that your family could need pre-cruise is really essential for me and my crew, because I can't tell you how many times we forgot something. We just had a travel day. I really don't want a formal meal. Can we just go get some Chipotle? Yes, we can. And we can walk there. So just a lot of things that I think are really important when you think about where you stay that night before. And that's going to be, this is a theme park hotel, so it's definitely going to be filled up well before, the regular Holiday Inns by the airport are full. But if it's important to you and you value that convenience over, being somewhere that's a bit crowded, book it early.
Yes. Oh my gosh, love that. And you can help book the Universal as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And where was that question? Are there blackout dates over spring break?
For placeholders, meaning probably, I guess that's what has blackout dates.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
It just says,
are there
yes.
blackout dates? Yeah.
Yes.
Typically for placeholders, we do see blackout dates over some of the most common spring break weeks, generally that week right before Easter and that week right after Easter. Again, if your school has like an off-peak week, then it might not be blacked out. So just definitely check that, review the list out. The list is already out for 2025, although we're already at spring break 2025 and 2026. So review those dates. And if they don't line up with your spring break, take advantage of that. But we do typically see some sailings blacked out. If you're looking at other cruise lines like Royal Caribbean's Kids Sail Free almost always excludes almost all of March and April at this point now. So you do see often some kind of blackout dates with placeholders and some exclusions to promotions on other cruise lines. But you don't see sailings like actually totally like selling out in spring break until much later. You just see them really significantly increasing in price point.
Got it. Okay. Again, book as far out as you can.
So if you are booked for 2025, I really hope that this helped you about things to think about. If you're already booked and you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't really realize that we should have already booked a hotel, reach out to me. I've got you. But if you're thinking about spring break 2026, this is my favorite sailing. And this is my favorite type of sailing. I'll put it that way. There's tons of these sailings, but this is the 4-night double dip and it runs all through March and April. So it's going to cover most spring break dates and it alternates between the Destiny and the Dream. The Destiny ones are Monday through Thursday, and the Dreams are that typical, or I'm sorry, Sunday through Thursday, and the Dreams are that typical Monday through Friday, just like the Wish 4 nights. And so you can either try a new ship, sail in a familiar favorite. These sail out of Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale, which I love all year round, but I also really like for a spring break because it's not an insane port like Orlando and Miami. Miami had 9 ships at it last Sunday. Like that's crazy.
Oh,
Um,
that's
it's
busy.
so busy, right? You'll never see that at Fort Lauderdale, but you will have a major airport right there, like within eyesight of the ships, and then another one, Miami International, only 15 minutes away. So getting there is really easy. And then once you're there, everything's really easy. Fort Lauderdale has so many fun activities to do if you decide to arrive early or stay late, which that's why I love the 4-night for spring. A lot of people are like, oh, they've got a week off of school. That's a 7-night sailing. Let's do it. Sure, let's do it. But just know that that's probably going to still mean some school missed to make up for that time to arrive the night before. And then you get off the ship and you still have to get back. Are you really sending your kids directly to school the next day after a cruise? I mean, probably you have to, but gosh, it's going to be a rough morning, a rude awakening. So I love the 4-night for really giving you that flexibility. The other really great thing about this itinerary with the double dip of the private islands is that you're going to ports that still at this time are only accepting one Disney cruise ship. So that's really reducing your crowds. As like I mentioned, Cozumel and Nassau can have so many ships of all different sizes and brands. And this will kind of give you a perfect like spring break with minimal of that like spring break, I'm crowded feeling. So I really love this itinerary for spring breaks. And again, it's offered through most of 2026, but specifically I checked it's available every single week of March and April. So it should definitely cover your spring break for next year.
That is awesome. That is great perspective to have too. You get the spring break feel, you get the spring break weather. I know we love sailing this time of year because the weather, it's not too hot yet. You can get in the ocean. But having that island or island destination to yourself,
Yeah.
it's just the Disney ship. That really is priceless. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
And somebody had asked, would you recommend a longer or shorter cruise over spring break? And you kind of answered it.
Mhm.
I mean, it
I like
depends
the
on your
4 and the
family.
5-night. It really,
Yeah.
yeah, like we've talked before, Rebecca and I have done videos in the past of the strengths of shorter sailings and also, how to do a longer sailing. So really what best fits your family's schedule is really going to be the best cruise for you. But I really like what I call kind of the mid-length, the 4 and the 5 nights are really kind of my ideal for spring break when you have like that 1 week off of school. The 3 nights are typically over a weekend. So that just to me seems kind of like you're going to need to do more than like you're going to have to miss school on Friday in order to fly out Thursday. Like all this, like it's just, it's going to be a bit more work than it's worth in order to get there and then probably still have to come back and still have time off of school and have to entertain. Like it's just going to be a lot. So I really like the 4s for that reason. And the 5 nights as well.
Yes, I was gonna say that sweet spot, and especially if you're a first-time cruiser, you're not really sure, that's a great place to start too. We can promise you're gonna love it, you're gonna have so much fun, but that's definitely a good way to get started, and I'm telling you, I wish that we had spent more time in Fort Lauderdale before or
Mhm.
after our cruise because we did a 4-night, and it was just it was such a great city, and we wish that we had had more time there to explore the beach and everything that they have to offer. So
So
listen to
fun.
Crissi and
Mhm.
definitely get in touch with her if you want. I was gonna say, I feel like, gosh, we blew through
We
that. That
flew
was
through
so
it. We
fast.
did. Yeah.
But if you have any questions, if you are stressed about your spring break this year, please don't be. It's going to be
No.
wonderful and amazing. And if you book a placeholder on board, which, if you don't know, is a future cruise reservation, and you get a
Mhm.
discount, there's some other fun things to consider there. But transfer that over to Crissi when you get back. You have 30 days to do so, and then she can help you plan for next spring break or for any other cruise from here on out. As you guys can see, she knows her stuff when it comes to cruising, Disney and otherwise. So let her help you so that you don't have to stress and you can just enjoy all the fun parts like Mickey bars
Yeah.
and chicken tenders and naps.
Just relaxing. Totally.
Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
the best. Thank you so much, Crissi. Thank all of you for joining, and will see all y'all on board real soon. Bye, guys.